So, I guess better tell you who we are. We're from Austrek, which is Star Trek fan club. We're the second oldest in the world.
Are you really? Wow.
33 years the club's been going for now.
Wow, great.
Only beaten by one other by, I think it's 3 or 4 years itself.
Wow.
So, don't worry, we're not die-hard fans or anything.
Why would I worry?
Because we've seen some of that. I guess the first big one would be, how did you feel about taking on a role in Star Trek, which has been around for over 40 years now?
I was really excited about it, and I think the biggest reason for me was when I was a kid, and I immigrated when I was 6 to the United States in 1978. And turning on the television at the time, I didn't see many great representations of Asians. And it was all very stereotypical stuff. And George, then I see George, and he's doing something that is not about his race. That's about, and he's playing the helmsman of a spacecraft. That, you know, it was so, I was very impressionable, and it meant a great deal for me to see George on television at the time doing that role. And so made a great impression on me. And when I heard that this was happening, this project was happening, I was just really, really keen on being connected to that legacy. So just...
Well, on that, how was it to meet George?
It was great. Have you met George?
I met George 3 times.
3 times?
Yeah.
He's just, as you know, that he's just a very well-read, well-spoken, charming individual. And I've known him a little bit because he is on the board of East West Players, which is a theater company I've done some plays at. But we hadn't really sat down and got to know one another. And this gave me the opportunity to do it. And it was fantastic.
Now, Star Trek's a long way, but quite a different role from some of your other parts that you've...
Do you know the question that's coming here?
I mean, going from American Pie, known as the MILF guy, to Harold and Kumar, through to this. I mean, that is a huge difference.
Yes, I've sullied the good Star Trek name with my dirty past.
Well, we were actually thinking you've cleaned it up a bit.
It depends on where you're coming from.
You've made it somehow more credible for 17 and 18-year-olds to suddenly like Star Trek. Because surely if they like American Pie and you're in that, you must like Star Trek.
Well, I hope so. I don't think this movie needs any help, but
that's a huge change in role.
It sure is, and. You know, what can I tell you? I'm really happy to have any variety in my career, and I've been lucky to not get penned in too much. And you know, what's funny is I've gotten the question, "Are you afraid of being typecast after having done Star Trek?" And I'm like, if I've avoided being typecast after American Pie and Harold and Kumar, I'm made of Teflon. I've got no worries here. So yeah, I mean, listen, variety is always something you like. You know, you do a serious thing for a while. It really can be nice to work on a comedy for a little bit, and vice versa. You know.
Are you now in the position where American Pie, obviously, you got some, notoriety in terms of the MILF guy role, but then your career has steadily grown, and now you're starting to be involved in larger projects. Are you now at the point in your career where people are starting to come to you as an actor and say you're interested in this, or do you still have to go through the process?
Well, it depends. I mean, I had to audition for this movie, but it's been, steadily it's been, would you consider doing this? There's some more offers on the table, but I'm not a big player, and it's the way the universe works. The stuff you really want, you have to go out and get it, and a lot of stuff you don't want is offered to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Your observation is correct in that I've never really had a real breakthrough role where my whole life my career has changed because of it. I'm the exception in Hollywood, I would say, that my career has just been kind of one step at a time, you know, and I'm actually very happy with that. It's provided a kind of steadiness and stability to a very unstable industry, you know, and I'm happy with the roles I've done. You know.
Is that it must be a comforting thought that it is steady because you are a family man. You have a child, from what I've read.
Yes, I do.
You're married.
Mm-hmm.
So, and a lot of the actors that we talk to, and we see a lot of actors, not just Star Trek actors, but we're very involved in the fan scene. We see a lot of them, and you can tell there's a lot of uncertainty in terms of where their next piece of work is coming from.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've always, when I came to town, when I came to LA and decided to give it a shot, I really thought of myself as just a working actor. My goal was, when I turned 40, I don't want to be waiting tables.
Yeah.
I really love to pay the bills with acting, and I reached that goal a long time ago, thank goodness. But having said that, it means I don't really take anything for granted, or I try not to, you know. And I'm not headlining movies for the most part. So I consider myself a character actor, and you know, when something comes along, an interesting role that's in 5 or 10 pages, I'm interested. I look at it and think, can I do something with it? Can I make this funny, or can I make this interesting? Can I make this dark? Whatever I can do to help out the project. If I find a way in for me, I want to do it. So
yeah.
Well, in line with that, how much of yourself did you bring into the Sulu character?
I tried to bring a good deal. I kind of felt that, you know, George, I'm probably older than George was when he started. So I know that I have, you know, my disposition is a little bit more youthful. I bet you George has always seemed older than his age too, you know. So I kind of figured that part of why I was cast was to bring the youthful part of me to Sulu, to make him, the whole project seemed to be, you know, straddling a line here is one to honor the original and to also add a twist, to make it a little bit more athletic, a little bit more muscular, you know.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to bring that part of myself to Sulu.
That comes through in the film. Apart from Chris Pine's character, the Sulu character is the most physical character in the film, and Sulu was always a physical character in the series. But this film takes it to a whole new level. What were the physical demands of the role on you? Given that a lot of it looks like there was, you know, quite a bit of effects work in there, but nonetheless, it still looked physically demanding.
It was. I mean, it's not like real work, but yeah, we trained for a while, for a couple of months, 2 or 3 months before, just learning. I didn't have any background in martial arts or anything like that, so I was going. Not even actually, I did learn a little fencing when I did Hamlet years ago, and had to learn a little bit of that. But aside from that, I had to start from scratch, and so which is great because Zach, Chris, and I trained together with the stunt guys, and we all Chris learned his boxing, and it was really individualized, but we trained together. And I felt like we went through Starfleet Academy together. It was it was a way of us bonding and going through something together and graduating and feeling like, you know, standing like not like me. You know what I'm saying?
Build yourself into the character.
Yeah, pushing myself into that kind of physicality. And as much as we could, we did the stunts. There's a few things we couldn't do, but Chris and I were hanging off the wires, and we were fighting and doing the moves. So it was pretty physically taxing. Cheers.
classic characters, the actors who portrayed those roles, became quite close. George, Walter, Jimmy and Michelle over the years. And it sort of came about, I think, more as a reaction to Bill than anything else. Was there a sense of, what's been the sense between, of the relationships between this cast? Because I said we were talking to Eric Banner earlier, it seems as though that looking at you guys in the last 24 hours, there's a real sense of fraternity, and it's not necessarily about who's in what role, but there is a sense of comradeship and friendship that's come out of this film. Is that accurate?
It is very accurate, and I was thinking at the beginning of this journey, the guys who did the original series didn't realize what was in store for them.
Yeah.
But we're new actors walking into a very established franchise. So in a way, we're very blessed in that we know we're blessed right off the bat. We know that we're walking into something special, into something very memorable. So there was always a sense of us looking around at each other and saying, let's not take this for granted. Let's have a great time, because we're participating in something so special, and it's a situation where you know it right off the bat. Secondly, this is my own theory, but there's so much secrecy surrounding this project. People didn't want pictures of us on the internet anywhere, so we had to wear ponchos every time we left the trailer.
Those photos.
They're all over the internet.
So normally in between setups, the cast might disperse and go back to their trailers and make phone calls and catch a nap and what have you. But it was such a pain to do all that stuff. We ended up sticking around on the stage, and we all ended up just talking a lot more than is normal, and we got very close. And of course, the bridge. Those of us on the bridge, we spent a lot of concentrated time together. So it's great.
Now, probably a bit of a different, tricky question here. How did you go with the techno babble and all that terminology and so forth?
Just tried to memorize and say it, when it was my turn as best I could. I'm not particularly good at that stuff, but I what are you gonna do?
Now, with the Trek fans and all that sort of stuff now, is it daunting, or are you scared or anything from the way the fans have been around previous Trek actors and so forth, with things like conventions, Comic-Con, all that sort of stuff?
I haven't given it much thought. I don't know what it's like. I've been to Comic-Con with Harold and Kumar, but I haven't been at the center of something like this. No, I'm not scared. I'm figuring those are people who are going to like our movie and are there to meet us, and we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll be singing a different tune later. But
if you watch Galaxy Quest, that'll give you an idea of what's coming.
When I'm at the car dealership, opening the car,
opening.
I'll let you know. Right now, you know what? I'm not thinking about it. My attitude has been, let's go out there and be surprised and enjoy ourselves. That's been my attitude, and not have any preconceived notions of what it's like.
So obviously you're happy that you've taken this role.
Really happy.
Besides the trip out here to Australia.
Besides the what?
Besides the trip out here to Australia.
Right. What a drag. What I'm really pleased about is I just think Star Trek is really it's a positive narrative, and I'm happy to be leaving that for my son. The way I see Star Trek is it's a bunch of people of different genders and races and species working towards a common peaceful goal. And it's a little fruity, a little, hippie-ish, but I just think that's a very admirable message to put forth in a story, and so I'm very proud to be associated with the franchise. I really am, and so if we make more, I would be very happy to continue being involved with it.
Well, for everyone that we've spoken to since last night, we know a lot of people who went last night with us to watch it, and we've spoken last night and then this morning, the emails and text messages, everyone so far, no one's had a bad thing to say.
The internet is absolutely buzzing.
Oh, really?
Absolutely buzzing. Between the screening here and the screening in Austin, just absolutely buzzing.
It's very nice to hear. I saw it a few weeks ago, about a month ago, but I was very happy with it. But you really do never know how it's going to play, and last night I was pleased. It felt like people were very kind. It felt like people were enjoying themselves.
Well, there was a lot of people who were there who weren't into Trek previously and who enjoyed it, and others who were the old school Trek fans in the 60s, and they walked away enjoying it as well. So
that's great. It's really what they did was JJ and the writers were very good about focusing on the characters, the original characters and their relationships. If you stay true to those, you can do a lot. You can take the story a bunch of different places, because I really feel like those relationships are what make the series. Is what made the series.
Well, we enjoyed it thoroughly. So thank you very much.
Thank you. One final